It's Thursday morning here in Lagos. Good morning, everyone. And the new year has kick-started in earnest, over 24 hours old. And I hope that you're still basking in the euphoria of 2020. There's a lot to be done, no doubt. I'm Nifemi Oguntoye and welcome on board. Late last year, I think it was about early November, the Lagos State Governor sent the 2020 appropriation bill to the State House of Assembly, and the lawmakers indeed promised to sit day and night to ensure that that bill is passed before the end of the year. They made good their promise. It happened on the 30th day of December, I believe, and we saw the president signing that particular document into law. So as we speak right now, we have the 2020 budget for Lagos, and many are saying it's no doubt an amazing feat. A lot has transpired just before the new year, and I'm joined this morning by a veteran lawmaker in Lagos who will be shedding more light on the activities of the Lagos State House of Assembly, the 2020 budget, as well as their plan for the new year. Honorable Wasiu Eshilo Kunsoni is my guest on the show, member representing Lagos Island Constituency 1. He's been there since 1999, interestingly. He took a break to be chairman of the Lagos Island local government for 2 terms and is right back at the Hallowed Chamber. Is the Deputy Speaker of the Lagos House of Assembly. Good morning, Happy New Year, and thank you for coming.
Good morning. Compliments of the season.
Wish you the same. So you presided over a plenary in December where the House passed a resolution calling on relevant authorities to ensure proper regulation and monitoring of gas sales to reduce what we saw last year as incidents of gas explosion. And one of the recommendations that the House made was mentioning that the Commissioner for Energy and Mineral Resources should ensure licenses are given to gas sellers in the state. How well would you say this resolution has been complied with?
Yeah, the House basically is passing our resolution. The execution of our resolution and laws are left for the executive to do. However, for a matter of time, if they're not being complied with, as we expected, then we come in to say that so and so resolution number so has not been complied with fully, and then we've not seen conscious effort by the executive to do so. But basically, it is the intention or the problem that the resolution is to serve that is of utmost importance to the legislature. And then basically for the sales of gas, basically we found out that over time there has been this sensitization by government NGOs on the usage of gas rather than the firewood and kerosene, and I guess so many people had bought into it, and it is now being used by majority, especially those in the urban area. But however, with any development, there will also be urban problems, and the problem will be that to serve the numerous populace, there are outlets of selling all of this gas, but we found out that mostly some of them are being sold in residential places. Some are being sold in very bad containers, and over time, even on this CMD road, you must have heard of problems with gas explosion. But luckily, the one on CMD road was a proper gas plant, and the area it was located was where you cannot say that it is residential, so it did not, as it were, cause inferno on the residential building to it because it was properly located. To forestall, and we've had incidences, so to speak, and it was mentioned by the honorable member representing Nigeria Olumo. We had this problem, so we thought that it would be nice if we call the attention of the regulating agencies to what they ought to do and to disallow indiscriminate, so to speak, sale of the gas, and it should be proper, and then we expect compliance because it is in interest of everybody that the resolution is complied with.
It's interesting, and it caught the attention of many concerned Lagosians, the fact that members of the House were responsive enough to have come up with such resolution. You mentioned explosion on CMD Road. I believe you're referring to that one close to the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, not far away from where we are currently. The House had also called on Commissioner of Information to embark on aggressive sensitization program on indiscriminate proliferation of gas sales. You mentioned that earlier. There's also the issue of substandard gas cylinders. I'm interested in knowing what outlined plans are for the House to monitor implementation by the executive and what the action plan would be if these recommendations are not followed through.
The House has its own inherent policies and wherewithal to monitor compliance with our resolutions. And basically, because we are 40 scattered around the state, if you say you have complied, all I need to do, or all the presiding officer, the Speaker of the House will do, is just to ask the members, has this been complied in your various constituencies? And these members, when they speak, that will give you an insight on the compliance. If he says, nothing has been done in my constituency, it is being sold under the House, and you have about 35, you know that has not been complied with, then you can now, there's also a proper House Committee on Energy that can also, because it is their responsibility that can now be fully empowered to now move around the state and see, basically, because if they say we have complied, okay, let's do visitation to all of these places. So we have the wherewithal and ways by which we monitor. And if it is a sensitization aspect, if it is done, you will see it on the TV, radio, you heard jingles, you heard. Right. So it's not something very, very difficult to monitor.
So we're looking forward to 100% compliance, because the news that we reported in the course of last year wasn't pleasant at all. I remember a particular report by one of our correspondents, Ola Wakon, of a woman who lost a girl, and she mentioned that, oh, I just saw her in a uniform, and then the next thing there was an explosion and she's no more. So I'm looking forward to a lot of compliance in the course of the new year. But let's turn our attention to the budget of reawakening to a greater Lagos. It's perhaps the highest budget any state government came up with last year. I recall speaking with one of your colleagues on the news who was very optimistic that the bill will be passed before the end of the year. Just how tasking was it for you and your colleagues to have made that possible last year?
No, I think the House, through the leadership of the House, the Speaker, Principal Officer, especially the Speaker, Right Honorable Obasa, we had agreed and had informed members, even from the start of the 8th Assembly, that it is in the best interest of the state that the budget is passed latest 31st of December of the preceding year of the budget, so that the executive can start the implementation of the early enough, so there will not be any problem, encumbrances as to how they perform. We should do our own statutory duties by passing the budget. That is why we always ask the executive, please, as it is stated in the Constitution, please bring your budget latest the last quarter of the preceding year for which the budget it is meant to serve. If they bring it early enough, then we have no option than doing our own duty. However, we will not going to sacrifice due diligence on the altar of speed. We will have to do whatever it takes to make sure that the budget is duly scrutinized and it is in the best interest of the people of Lagos, that the greatest good for the greatest number of people in the state. As to the size of the budget, which is about 1.1 trillion, it's not a problem, because basically in Nigeria they've adopted what is called incremental budget. They have MTEV. If your budget is 800 million, last year it ought to move to like 900 and something this year. But however, for 2019 that we are in, there is a loan aspect. No,
2019, okay.
2019 that we were in before. Yes. there was a loan aspect of close to 200 billion that
That's right.
ought to have formed part of the deficit of
That's
the
right.
budget, but it was not, because of the complexity of how to assess the loan. It was not forthcoming
Okay.
in that year. So all we did was to just take it as capital receipt.
And that was
or
the
even loan.
reordering that the governor sent earlier. We're going to get to
So-
all of that. We saw that the governor signed the budget to law the very next day, and after it was passed. We're also told that the approved budget contained 78 amendments as recommended by the joint committees. So the total budget for the year is now 1.168 as against 1. I think it's about 1.178 as against 1.168 trillion proposed by the governor. Can you tell us what the highlights of these amendments really are?
No, when the budget is presented to the House and it is taken in by the House and the presentation by the governor is taken as the like the first reading. During that, you take it as the first reading, and then subsequently when it is given to the joint appropriation committee, that is the Committee on Finance and Budget, all other committees of the House will be subcommittees under the Joint Appropriation Committee. It is believed, so to speak, that we can duly scrutinize. The federal subcommittee will work on it and see if the budget passed in this in the say 2019 now.
Okay.
If it is properly executed,
That's right.
if there are issues, they know where they are, so that before they do the approval, and after that, the subcommittee will lead them
Okay.
to the main
In the House.
committee, to the main joint appropriation committee.
Okay.
It is a accumulation of all the submission of the various subcommittees that you see as amendment. However, all the ministry and all the MDAs, Ministry and Department of Government, will have come to have their own input on all of this, and it will be agreed. And then the wisdom of the appropriation committee, they will make the recommendation. But that is not that it is them alone that did it. It is subcommittees, and they will still now bring the proposed budget to the full House, where it will also be debated, and if everything they have recommended is agreed. And then because we also know that almost everybody, except the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, that will not be in one subcommittee or the other, almost all members of the House will have worked on the budget. We believe that whatever they've done is in the best interest of the budget. And don't forget that the current Speaker is also a former chairman of the Committee on Economic Planning and
So there's
Budget.
a lot of experience that is
There's a
brought
lot
to
of
bear.
that is brought to bear. So we'll also look at it, and then it's not the number of the amendments so proposed, it is in what purpose are they meant to serve, and it is meant to serve the purpose of good governance in the state and in the best interest. And because there are no issues, that was why when it was passed the second day,
The governor quickly assented to it.
That is a sign
So that is also
of
very
good
interesting,
synergy.
because the passage of the bill, the appropriation bill, is considered a legislative success. And there are people who would say that the House traditionally has over the time been unanimous on decision making. We saw that when in the pre-election year before 2019, the decisions that were made by members of the House. Is this a function of the one-party system, or so to speak, that Lagos State runs? For instance, if there was a substantive opposition, do you think that the House still would have been so apt and speedy in making resolutions and passages like this?
Don't forget that even during the 8th Assembly, we had almost 6-8 members of the opposition, PDP, who were in the House before. Some of them, or almost all of them, converted or came into the APC. And for the first 2 years where they were in PDP, we've been passing our budget on the 31st of December. It is the import or purport of the legislation, what they intend doing. And when you go onto the floor to debate or you are in subcommittee, your party affiliation will go to the background. It is the interest of the state that should come to the fore. And then because we are all working on the same page, either you are PDP or you are whatever, it's not a problem, but every constituencies will be served by the budget. So it is not is in nobody's interest when it is delayed unnecessarily. So it is not as if it was when we were all 40 members representing APC, that was when we started passing the budget. And don't forget, it was brought mid-November and we only passed it at almost the last day of December. That is a whole 6 weeks to work on the budget. And even if at that, it is because we are in the same party, I think it is in the interest of the state to continually vote for the same party so that the business of government is not unduly delayed.
On one hand of this is, the seeming very excellent and seamless relationship that exists between the executive and the legislature. We also see that play out in the 9th National Assembly. But on the other hand, people are somewhat conscious about the fact that is there the possibility of the House of Assembly, given its affiliation with the executive, becoming a rubber stamp to everything that the executive wants to do?
The people will need to make distinction between collaboration and collusion. Like I said, it is the interest of the state that everybody is trying to serve. And for the Lagos State House of Assembly, we hold the mandate of the people as sacred. And it will be used solely for the sole purpose of good governance and bringing the dividends of democracy to the citizenry of Lagos. What we try to do, or what the previous assembly or National Assembly, the 8th Assembly, budget brought to the National Assembly, not passed until June, July.
It took about 6 months.
6 months. It's not in the best interest. That was when you now unnecessarily have to look at what the financial year will now have to be. You started the implementation by June. Maybe you know that the thing cannot end by December. You now try to now move it to another March or whatever, which is not in consonance with the various financial memorandum. However, now that it is passed, when it is necessary, you can now say that the financial year for the nation and our state is January to December 31st. And then we will expect everything to be done. And also, there's also a need for proper information, either to us and to the executive. Before now, people thought that a budget not passed or a budget not brought to the assembly they will tell you that you can spend 30%. But constitutionally, there is nothing like that. You cannot spend 30% until the budget is brought and presented.
I believe there was an issue like that in the previous administration.
Yes, it is brought to the assembly, and there is nothing like 30%. What the constitution says is that you can spend the corresponding amount approved by the House in the same month. And like we are saying, the 8th Assembly, we were in the same party with the governor, the executive. Yet we had issues. We collaborated for so many months, and when the issue came, we did not, and we are not still shying away from raising the issue and saying that these and these are not.
Apparently, there were many who thought that issue was more political than legislative thereabout.
Well, because it was a election year, people can give different connotation to the issue. But the fact is, the issue can be scrutinized. Like I was saying, the major issue is non-presentation of the budget. And the Constitution says, present your budget the last quarter of the preceding year. It's not like I may, we may, or we may not. Is shall. When shall is used in the Constitution, it ought to be complied with, because all of us we sworn to the on oath to
uphold the
to
Constitution.
uphold the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And when that is not complied with, we need to raise issue and say we've not gotten this. And when the executive is misadvised by the bureaucracy that, well, there's something like you can spend 30%. And we know, of course we know that there is nothing like 30% in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It says that present your budget. If you don't present in the last quarter, you cannot spend a dime. However, if you present, you not 30%, you can spend what we approve for the corresponding month, or until between January and June, half year. You can spend everything, 100%. That's what the Constitution says. And we continue to tell the bureaucracy, even in Lagos, when you have that kind of regulation or memorandum, we have a law in Lagos that say that we call it regulation approval law.
Okay.
When laws are passed, the executive will make regulation in furtherance of implementing the law. But the regulation approval law provides that such regulations must be brought back to the assembly for approval, because we do not want whatever you put in your regulation to derogate from the main body of the law. If it is not brought to the legislature, it cannot be implemented. However, some of these things we need to test, we need to interrogate further. We found out that during the course of investigation, there is nothing, no financial regulation, no memorandum that says that any 30% can be spent. It is just a myth in government.
And that the executive sometimes are taken advantage of. Let's move on quickly and take a closer look at the 2020 budget that was passed in the preceding year. The budget size is higher than the 2019 budget by 34%. And capital expenditure is at about 62% and recurrent at 38%. Now, this is a feat yet to be achieved at the national level. How significant is this, and what does it mean for development in Lagos in the new year?
Well, there are two issues that you raised. You are raising the size of the budget, yes, and also the percentage allocated to the capital expenditure. Yes, it is the state and the legislature and the executive will agree that for any meaningful development to happen, there should be substantial allocation to capital expenditure, and that is what they've done. In terms of the size of the budget, like we've told so many people, it is not as if it was 34% increment. However, it was not technically. It was not 34% increment. Okay. But there is nothing wrong, even if we choose to say it is 50% increment should happen on our budget. It is how we are going to get all the receipts, revenue, to fund the budget that matter. However, like I said, there was this almost 200 billion that was to be assessed in 2019 that was not assessed. And if the budget was 800 and something plus, what they've just added was just 100 and something billion, which ought ordinarily by their medium-term expenditure framework that was agreed upon, it should be like that. And then when you had the 200, it goes to 1.1 something trillion. And it had happened before that we had 30-something% increment. I remember during Mashua Bola Ahmed Tinubu tenure, they call it a budget of quantum leap. The budget was just, they said that what we had we will not have development. There is need to re-engineer financial engineering to engineer our revenue, and even to look at and depend less on the federal government. That was when they started all this organization of LRS and trying to look for other sources of revenue to take Lagos away from being dependent on the federal government allocation. And when they brought quantum leap, they said budget of quantum leap, people were like, how would this be achieved? If they had not done that, we'll still be where we were. People will not be innovative. They will not start to look for ways of meeting the revenue receipts. And so for me, we are not shying away. If they say they can't do it and they are able to convince us, we give it to them. But they've not done it this time. I will expect them to say that if they implement this and say, yes, we want to go to 2 trillion, fine. Just tell us how you think you can you can do all of that. It's not the issue.
So talking about funding the budget, this budget, according to that document, will be funded by a projected total revenue of 1.071 trillion naira and a deficit amounting to about just 97.5 billion naira. This looks impressively viable, looking at how much internally generated revenue we're projecting into the new year. But we also saw, like you've made mention, last year, Mr. Governor writing the Assembly saying the 2019 budget could not be funded, hence the need for its reordering and all of that. So there was a fixed rate bond of 100 billion and the capital market and an internal loan of about 150 billion. How optimistic are you that this particular document will not suffer similar fate and that it will actually be well funded as it's been projected?
2 issues. One, it was not as if the current governor brought a request for a new loan. Okay. The loan had been embedded in the 2019 budget. He only activated it. Oh, we had already approved as at 2018 for the loan to be taken. He only activated just to bring to our notice that he's activating what we had approved. Okay. That was what it was.
Does that mean now that the 2019 budget was implemented by 100%? Because I recall that as of August, it was just about 70-something%.
What I'm saying is they had sought the approval of the House to take loan. Okay. We had given the approval, yes, but probably for one reason or the other, they were unable to access the loan. Okay. Probably due to, I don't know, so many reasons. Could be problem of logistic or whatever. However, the current governor now saying that what we had approved, he will access. Also, you now see that we also, because of time, he may not be able, he was unable to do it. He had already taken it, the almost 100 and something billion, to the new budget. That was why the budget, that's what I was trying to explain, that made the budget to go to 1.16 billion. So, and also, we talk of the budget implementation, it was 70%. And how you do not use 2019 or 2015 to judge budget, because naturally 2019 or 2015 will be election year. Okay. For election year, so many things will happen. Okay. There will be less sanction on default, because people were looking for votes and they want to bring certain things down because of the level that we are in and other so many problems. And then, you know, the democratically elected people will be looking for re-election, and there will be less, a little bit less focus on 100% focus on governance. The governance will have maybe onto pilot that just be overseen, but serious sanctions will not be applied to,
because it's
the vote as an election year. So we believe in their dreams that they can still generate that. And also, don't forget that there are also one or other 2 issues, like there was this land use charge that generated a lot of controversies, and you know, the House intervened through the leadership, and then we called stakeholders meeting. For whatever reason it is, we just see that we approved or passed even the land use charge bill on the same day after so many amendments. So they cannot, as it were, access all the resources, all the revenue.
I get your point.
Ought to.
Let's take a short break. When we return, you help us shed more light on the acquisition of buses in the previous administration. There were talks about whether or not that was captured in that year's budget. We'll take a short break and return with more, as well as open the phone lines for your contribution. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. I'm joined this morning by Deputy Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Honorable Wasiu Eshilo Konsoni. He's a member representing Lagos Island Constituency 1, and we're talking about activities of the Assembly in the outgoing year, as well as the 2020 budget and what to expect in the new year. Thank you for staying the course on the program. Help us shed light on what actually transpired with the funds used to acquire buses in the previous administration, whether or not it actually featured in that year's budget.
My take is that I guess there had been explanation by the House, especially the chairman of House Committee on Information and Strategy, and but as you know, the issue is in court, and maybe it will be subjudice. And
to talk about it now.
Talking about it, the position of the House is known, and everybody knows.
I understand the point. So this particular budget, I believe, included a provision for the new minimum wage. There are many who believe strongly that Lagos can conveniently do more than 30,000 naira. Do you concur?
Well, I don't know what to say about that. The thing is this, is that for the workforce, the 30,000 was recommended, and I'm sure the governor of Lagos was about the first governor to agree to pay.
So the 30,000 was recommended as minimum, not
minimum,
not precisely as the amount that should be paid.
Well, that was what was recommended, and I think that was what even the federal government is paying, and there was one of those who first agreed to do the implementation. And if the minimum wage was 18,000 and was taken to 30,000, that should be like 90% increment. Until they do the maths, that is when they will know the total of what was to be expended on minimum wage. And when you look at the budget, you find that the allocation to that payment of personnel is about 160-something billion. When you do the percentage, that should give you like
maybe 23%.
20 or 20-something percent.
It's still below the 25% required.
Of the required for what?
25% of the budget, I think, is what is required to pay arrears and salaries and the rest.
I don't know where that is coming from. I've not seen any document that.
No, but what I'm saying is that it's a safe zone, because unlike what is obtainable on the national level, where we still spend more on recurrent expenditure, Lagos isn't doing badly at all.
No, the thing is this. As you know, like the budget is an estimate, and most recurrent expenditure are always run down. What will suffer, even if the budget does not do well, will be the capital expenditure. And when you have 160-something billion allocated to wages, don't forget also there will also be overhead, and it is still that percentage of the workforce that will also run down the overhead expenditure. When you had the two together, that's what we are saying that almost about 40% allocated to development. When alpha, with the rate of development that Lagos seeks, I'm not sure that is enough for developmental purposes. Unless, of course, we are sure that 100% of the budget will be realized. If it is realized, fine. But then you need a lot of money at this stage of our development. You need a lot of resources to be able to execute what will make life more meaningful to the populace.
And to help Lagos achieve that mega city status.
Yes, they have not. They even gone away from mega city. Now it's now smart city status. We are not averse to increment in wages, but we will also be responsible to make sure that whatever we agree, we can't pay it, and it will not unnecessarily impede development. We are not opposed to anything, and it was agreed. And even in 2019 budget, they already made provision for increment in wages. Lagos had already made provision that the wages will go up, but it didn't happen for most part of
Last year.
2019. They already made the same provision in 2020 budget. Lagos State is responsible, and we know that our workers will need to be paid well, so that because naturally Lagos is expensive, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And,
I agree with you. Let's talk about what is expected when it comes to public infrastructure in the new year, because we saw more like a boost. The fiscal plan is 115 billion naira, higher than 78 billion naira from last year. So we're expecting a massive construction site in the new year. Are you optimistic that all of these things will be done in due time, and it will also be done in such a way that Lagosians will not feel the brunt of the massive work that will be done?
Well, I guess I think that majorly there will be positive impact on from the construction industry on the economy of Lagos, and you find out that even the permits, so to speak, that they will expect so much from. When you look at construction going on around Lekki and other places in Lagos, and you found out that not up to 50% is paying directly to the government, because it is massive, and so many other things will have to.
Let me hold you for a minute, Honorable, to take Judge's call from Ikeja. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Nifemi. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
And to the Deputy Speaker, too. Please, I want to ask the Deputy Speaker this question about the Badagry project. The project, I see that it has been resuscitated, but the pace of work appears to be low. I want to ask him, when is the completion of that project likely to be? It was abandoned for a very long time, but when I passed there about 3 weeks ago, I saw that the work has started there. It looks very minimal. Why is it slow, and when is the project likely to be completed? Thank you.
Well, I think basically the Badagry Expressway, I think it was the one part of it is being done by the federal government, and then I think they mobilized them to site, and then the state also want to help by doing certain parts of the road, and they've also mobilized to site. You will see at the advent of this government, the governor went to inspect and direct what ought to be done on the road. But you will know that maybe because of the budget, was that proper allocation to that sector. Also, don't forget that road is a federal government road. Well, we were already doing things on the road before. You will know that this Okokomaiko Lagos train, right. You will see that there is a lot of massive construction, and the state and taking loan for it, and the road that when you go to Relay, you will see the kind of the road network, how it was done, though not yet complete. But when you see how massive it is, you will know that the state naturally is just helping the federal government. But yes, it is Lagos State road. But when Lagos is trying all of these, its best effort, we expect corresponding complementary action from the federal government. But luckily, probably because the man at the federal level is Babatunde Raji Fashola, a former governor of the state. So they are not trying to build the synergy. I'm sure that there will be increased effort from both the states and the federal government on that road.
All right.
But also, there are one or other fundamental issues that will also be looked at. There is this procurement process.
Okay.
What does it say on all of these? Probably what they will allocate will be probably 20%. That is what the procurement law for the federal is saying. So they continue to release the money in consonance with their procurement act,
I see.
their procurement act, until it is amended. But I'm sure that we'll have, and I think about last week, the Minister for Works, Obatunraji Fashola, also stated when all of these roads will be completed, not even talked about the Oshodi-Apapa Expressway, he gave specific date, delivery date, that are dates that are time specific, none of the federal government jobs.
Let's take, is Jacobo still there?
Yes, I'm here.
From Dr. Mo. Good morning and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, Ethan. Good morning, how are you? Hello?
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you. I have one or two things to say. Number one, let me just start going on Mr. Talk. Mr. George already mentioned that last time that Deputy Governor appeared in this program, I asked him a question, or I put a question to him. Because some of us have a business in Lagos, but a lot of us live in Ogun State. Hello?
Yes,
Am I hearing you?
A lot of us live in Lagos State. And then if you travel all the way from Mabile down to Tollgate, let's stop at Tollgate, even though it's worse than after Tollgate, than Lagos to Tollgate. I put a question to Deputy Governor that day that if it is ordinary job path, they should try to help us to do that, because we find it difficult to fly that road. And then the answer given to me that day was that yes, it's a federal government road, and then they have been start passing it. But I noticed when I traveled there last 3 days, I noticed that they passed it to some length and then they stopped. Work did not continue. Please, because I know that we are talking to the right person now, so that our message is getting to their executive here. I would say that another thing is this. The last dispensation, I mean the government of Ambody, it did something that felt so damaged that I personally really like. What is that? Is that it makes sure that in its program, it says that in every local government, at least 20 to 40 streets must be repaired. I mean, their roads, the streets. I don't know, maybe the same program still go on in this dispensation, because some of us think that I didn't think that it was not be able to monitor those streets. Some of us in Dr. We are not going to see our street time. And then we still have a lot of streets that is untied, that is, you cannot even fly the street. If you're after, your car can never enter your street. Please, just try to help us to tell the Mr. Governor, I need the Sanwo-Olu. If he can be able to do same, we will be happy. Thank you and God bless you.
All right, thank you, Jacob, for your contribution. You have a word for him.
Thank you. I guess your thoughts or your concerns will be addressed, and I'm sure that whatever is good that a previous administration has done, no current administration will abandon it if it is a very responsible and responsive government. And I'm sure that the administration led by our current governor, Sanwo-Olu, I think will do the same. And I'm sure that about a week or 2 weeks ago, he also commissioned about 16 roads at Ifako-Ijaye axis. Ifako-Ijaye, he did about 16 roads and then completed them, and I'm sure that he will not stop.
In continuation of
what has been done before. I guess somebody did about 20-something road from Alimosho axis to Ogun State, and he has done 16, and I'm sure that it's a continuous process. Okay. It will be continuing, and I'm sure that wherever they stopped, they will continue. If they had started it, they will complete it.
Alhaji Subaru has called in from Alimosho. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome. Go ahead with the contribution.
Thank you very much. I want to talk about morning. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Yeah. Yes, my contribution is this. The Deputy Governor mentioned the issue of proliferation of gases, which he mentioned that it can be monitored by the respective representative from the constituency. But I have a doubt about it. I have a kind of counter about it. That is, if the representative is living within that constituency. You see, it should have been easy. Because what happened is that most of these, our our representative. Take, for instance, from Alimosho, we are here. If the representative is living within the constituency, we will monitor the issue. Most of these our representatives, once they voted them in, they went, they start and go and build house in Lekki. They don't even know what is happening within the constituency. Take, for instance, from Yanopaja to Machalati here, where we have a small pothole that we are suffering for 24/7. I know that if our representative is living with us, he will not like to be in that hold up for continuously 3 hours. Every day, day in, day out. In Machalati, after Alimosho, after Yanopaja here. So the problem is, if our representative is living with us, they will handle our problem. They know what is happening with the constituency. With the community within the constituency they are managing. But some of them does not even know. They don't even know what is happening with us. They don't care. Once they voted them in, they went to Lekki to go and be house of Victoria Land.
All right.
That is just the way I look at it. Thank
All
you very much.
right. Thank you for your contribution, Elijah.
Thank you.
So what do you think about lawmakers living within the constituency?
Thank you. I'm sure that I don't know of any lawmaker from Alimosho that is living in Lekki. The one I know, they live within Lekki, live within Alimosho and probably Ikeja because of the closeness to
the
work, because they have dual responsibility now. They have to represent, but they also have to be legislators. They have to be at work on time. However, there are safeguards already implemented from the 8th Assembly. Each year, each representative will organize what is called a stakeholders meeting, where the issues, problems confronting these various constituencies will be brought to fore. It will be collated, and we tried as much as possible to put them in subsequent budget. Okay. But sometimes, we do not implement. We put, but sometimes it is not implemented by the executive 100% as we want. That is when constituents think we are not doing enough, but it's not as if no legislator will be happy for his roads leading to his own constituency will be bad or very, very bad. And like I just mentioned, Alimosho got about 21 roads between Alimosho and Ogun State last year. They got bridges, and because resources are scarce and so many things to be done, we have to manage resources between about 40 constituencies, and then all right, we still think that Alimosho is not doing badly. However, his concerns will be brought to the member representing Alimosho, the two members representing Alimosho, and they will be addressed.
Let's take this conversation to Isola. Ola is standing by on the phone. Good morning, Ola.
Good morning.
Go ahead, please.
Please, I would like to talk on the IGR in Lagos State. We have observed over time that we now have many Marwa and Mekani. And what we have observed is that at least a Marwa will pay 2,000 naira in a day. And in a monthly thing, the Marwa operator will pay 60,000 naira. And I wonder if this money actually goes to Lagos State, consider the number of Marwa operators and the number of Okada. We are not even talking about people. This money goes to a particular pocket. And these are people that contribute to the wear and tear of our roads. Yes, the money we are generating from them, I doubt if this money goes to Lagos State. Who are the people collecting this money? And why is it that Lagos State is not people tapping into that and make sure they increase Lagos IGR? That's one. Number two is that, like I said the other time, we have not seen the presence of Lagos State government in Solo. All the roads in Solo are abandoned. No single road has been done. If you see any good road in Solo now, that road must have been constructed during Jack and Day. And I don't know the offense of Solo. Why government decides to neglect that region. Thank you.
Let's begin with taxation in the transportation sector. He is concerned, like many Lagosians are, the huge amount of money that the buses, Okadas, and tricycles pay. Do we know precisely where those monies go to?
Well, I think that naturally, I guess they have two forms of collection: NURTW and sometimes the local government do collect that, but that is what the constitution provides. And the last 1 year and the last 3 months, to be precise, people had been raising concerns on all of this, that that could be a very veritable source of revenue to the state government, since they are mostly concerned with road projects and what have you. And I guess the state is looking at it, but majorly we believe is that all these tricycle and tricycle or motorbikes ought to be in the rural parts of Lagos, if we actually are able to get a transportation model right. But then it is an urban issue that will be addressed. But right now, the state does not collect a dime from such bicycle or bike or tricycle, so to speak.
So all the monies go to their union?
I don't know, but I know they pay their unions and then pay little to the various local government. They do not, the various local government do not have the wherewithal, or they have not yet organized themselves to collecting all of these
and frankly,
revenues.
that's a whole lot of money.
A whole lot of money
that could be put to better use by the
state. I agree that the state can look at it, and some even did the mathematics and sent it to us. I guess
all right.
We're looking at it, and
we're really run out of time now, so I hope that you also talk to your colleagues in Isolo. He mentioned the fact that no roads have been constructed there.
No, I don't actually believe that.
I agree with him. All right.
I don't agree. Let me just
put
in a word. I know that between the state and the local government, each local government, we agreed on two roads, and for the what is called Ambode's administration, if it is two roads, that means that 8 roads, and it's solo, so to speak. Local government is divided into 3. They have the solo, they have Egbedimu, they have
let me take out this call from Ikorodu.
Wait. I'm sure that between that Isolo, the general Isolo, as contained in the constitution, not by the synergy between the state and the local government.
You're saying that roads must have been constructed.
Not less than 10 will have been done in the last.
All right, Kayode, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, sorry for putting you on hold for a long time. You have just 1 minute. Go ahead with the contribution.
All right. Thank you, Nick. Good morning. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Same to you. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to our Deputy Speaker.
Compliments.
Please, recent contribution on the issue of among us pensions for ex-governors. What is Lagos State House of Assembly doing to give effect to this job?
All right. Very direct question.
Pension to governors, I think it was done by law. If there is going to be, and if it is a law, it is meant to be complied with until it is amended.
First, do you consider it humongous, like you said?
No, I don't. However, the legislature work with the mood of the citizenry. If they are so concerned, they could sponsor amendment, give it to us, and we'll look at it, and then we'll do the amendment. And that is a whole lot of issue where, because governors and co-os are politicians, and they have issues, and we are also politicians, and people would think that you will supporting your own. But,
the figures in Naira and Kobo, is it in public domain?
No. I mean, it is done. It was done in public domain, and you can also assess what is given to each of the former governors. And luckily, I'm not sure if Ashola will be getting anything, because now his minister is not, by even the law now, by the judgment of the Supreme Court, anybody that is having another job, especially with government, will not be paid unless you are out.
Okay, so the payment resumes when it's done with us.
When it's done with ministerial responsibilities.
Well, there's a lot to talk about. Perhaps you will find us worthy to come another time so that we can continue this conversation. I've been speaking with the Deputy Speaker, Lagos House of Assembly, and it's really been an eye-opening experience. Honorable Wasiu Eshinlo Konsoni, thank you very much for finding time to come.
Thank you for inviting me, and I also thank the listeners and our citizenry for giving us the mandate to serve, and I want to assure them that we consider the mandate sacred, and then we'll continue to serve them with all our God-given talents and energies.
All right, so we're looking forward to a bigger and better year in Lagos. That's our show today. Thank you for being a part of it. We'll be back tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.